The vastness of space wrapped around me like a heavy shroud as the Ian ship stood out in the darkness, a specter of a forgotten civilization. Through the visor of our ship, I could see its imposing, weathered forms, a silent monument to both greatness and decay. My heart pounded in my chest, a reflection of the anticipation and mystery awaiting us. Eliana, do you really think we'll find something that can help us understand what happened to them? Tobias's voice brought me back to reality. I hope so, Tobias. This is our chance to learn from the mistakes of the past. We need to be ready for whatever we find in there, I replied, trying to hide the anxiety building at the back of my mind. Anya, are you ready for what's next? I asked the biologist who stood beside me, her curious eyes gleaming under the screen's light. I'm excited, Eliana. Whatever lies ahead is a unique opportunity. We might uncover what led to this civilization's extinction and, who knows, even find solutions to our own problems, Anya said, with a smile that barely concealed her excitement. The silence of the ancient ship contrasted with the turmoil within us. When the door finally opened, a wave of cold air and a metallic smell hit us. The lights flickered intermittently, revealing corridors lined with strange marks, like scars on the very structure of the ship. What happened here? I murmured as my steps echoed on the worn walls. This isn't just abandonment. It's like something happened, something terrible, said Lucas, the astrophysicist, as he examined the damage. We need to document all of this. These signs could be the key to understanding what led to their downfall. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about this, Tobias admitted, visibly nervous. Let's just focus on gathering data and not get lost in theories. I agree, I replied. But we must be prepared for whatever we find. Curiosity is a double-edged sword. As we explored the ship, the atmosphere grew heavier. Every corridor seemed to tell a story of despair and destruction. Further ahead, Anya suddenly stopped and shouted, "Guys, come here. I found something." I ran towards her, my heart pounding. What could it be? A preservation capsule lay before us, its surface covered in dust and marks, as if it had been forgotten for centuries. What do you think is inside? I asked, intrigued. I don't know, but it could be the answer we're looking for, Anya responded, her excitement visible. We need to open it. The tension between us grew. Whatever was hidden in that capsule could alter the course of our mission and perhaps even humanity itself. The future of our research depended on what we decided to do next. Let's be careful, I said, feeling the weight of expectations and the unknown piling on us. As we examined the DNA, something began to form on the monitoring screen. A blue hologram materialized in front of us, capturing our attention. The image showed a skeletal figure, surrounded by an aura of sadness and despair. Lucas, wide-eyed, murmured, "It looks like a message." "Activate the audio," I ordered, my voice filled with both anticipation and fear. The hologram began to speak, its voice echoing in the silent lab. "If you're seeing this, know that our experiments led to our ruin. What is about to be released is not a life form, but a demon created by our ambition." My heart started to race. "What are we doing, Lucas? We need to reconsider all of this." "No, Eliana." Tobias intervened forcefully. "This is our chance to make history, to understand how they lived and maybe even revive the civilization. We can't stop now." Did you not hear what he said? Anya spoke, her voice trembling. "We have to stop. We can't play God." Stop? And lose this unique opportunity? Tobias was visibly agitated, his eyes gleaming with a near-fanatical determination. "We need to act. I suggest we try to revive a life formed from this DNA." The tension in the room was palpable. I looked at the faces of my colleagues, realizing that each of them had their own agenda, their own hopes and fears. "I don't know, Tobias. We can't ignore what this civilization went through. If we don't try, we'll never know," he insisted. "Let's do it." I volunteered to lead the experiment. "All right," I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "But if something goes wrong, we're all responsible. Let's get ready." As Tobias prepared for the experiment, a sense of dread settled in my stomach. What we were about to do could change everything. You're right, Anya, I murmured, more to myself than to her. We have no idea what we're dealing with. We're playing with forces we don't understand, Anya said, looking at the hologram that still hovered in the air. The ancient civilization's warning echoed in my mind, but the urge to move forward was strong. Would our curiosity and ambition be our downfall? Adrenaline coursed through my veins as Anya and I tried to track down the creature that had escaped. The environment of the Ian ship, once a maze of fascinating technologies, had now turned into a scene of despair and chaos. The lights flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls, and every step we took was accompanied by the sound of system checks and alarms echoing down the corridor. We need to find it before it causes more damage, I said, my voice tense. Yes, but where do you think it could have gone? Anya replied, her breath coming in gasps. We knew that every second counted. As we moved, a terrifying thought occurred to me. What if it's trying to find what's left of the experiment? That capsule we found. Anya stopped, her gaze fixed on me. Do you think it could be connected to this? That it's searching for a way to reconnect with what was lost? The unease was palpable. We needed answers, and I knew the only way to get them was to delve deeper into the ship's secrets. Meanwhile, the tension between me and Tobias was growing by the minute. He wanted to continue the experiments, and it left me conflicted. The last thing I wanted was to repeat the mistakes of the ancient civilization. Soon, we found a chamber that seemed to have been a laboratory. The walls were covered in charts and notes. I approached a table full of holographic devices, and a journal stood out among them. Anya, look at this! I called. She quickly came over. What did you find? A journal. It could be from one of the scientists who worked here. I flipped through the pages, and the story they told was one of despair and desolation. They tried to revive their ancestors, but it led to the downfall of their society. How is that possible? Anya murmured, horrified understanding dawning on her face. They didn't understand the consequences. And now, we're about to repeat those same mistakes, I said, a lump forming in my throat. At that moment, Lucas's voice cut through the heavy air of the lab. Guys, I need you to come here. The ship's vital functions are starting to fail. We need to act fast. Panic set in. Lucas, we're on our way. I replied, and before we could think about anything else, the floor shook beneath our feet. The alarm blared louder, and the sense that time was running out was almost unbearable. We have to decide now, Eliana. If we don't do something soon, we could lose the ship and our lives, Anya urged. And what is Tobias going to do? I asked, remembering the determination in his eyes when he talked about the experiments. He's not going to stop. He can't stop us if we stand together, Anya replied, her voice firm. Let's find Lucas and decide what to do. We can't let Tobias's ambition lead us to destruction. With that determination, we moved forward, ready to face whatever awaited us. The silence in the Ian ship was almost deafening, broken only by the sound of alarms and my racing heartbeat. We finally managed to capture the grotesque creature, but the damage it had done to the ship was immense. The metallic walls were marred by deep scratches, and a cloud of smoke hung in the corridor where the battle had taken place. We need a plan, I said, my eyes fixed on Anya, who was still trembling with adrenaline. Lucas, what's happening with the systems? He was near the control console, his fingers flying over the buttons as the monitors flashed with alarming data. The vital functions are compromised. If we don't escape soon, we'll be trapped here, Lucas replied, the concern clear in his voice. Tobias, who had been silently observing everything, finally spoke. We can't give up now. We need to use the creature to revive the civilization. It's the only chance we have. I stared at him, anger rising in my chest. Are you not listening? We already know what happened to them. They tried this, and it all ended in destruction. You can't be serious. But what if there's a different way? Tobias insisted, his expression determined. We can't ignore what we have in front of us. Anya stepped in, her tone calm but firm. What are you proposing? Revive them and hope they don't make the same mistakes? That's insane, Tobias. The tension between us was palpable, like an electric field ready to explode. With every passing minute, the ship seemed to deteriorate further, and Tobias's idea began to sound more like a delusion than a plan. "We need to focus on getting out of here first," I shouted, my frustration boiling over. "Then we can discuss what to do with the creature." Just then, a loud crash echoed through the ship, causing the monitors to flicker and a red light to flood the corridor. "What was that?" I asked, panic beginning to take hold. "Imminent collision with an asteroid field," Lucas announced, the tension in his voice rising. "We need to move," I said, already heading towards the control panel. Tobias stood still, his expression a mix of determination and desperation. "We can't let this opportunity slip away." "The opportunity to destroy ourselves?" I retorted, but he didn't seem to hear me. With my heart in my throat, I turned my attention back to the panel, trying to ignore the growing sense of betrayal hanging between us. The ship was in danger, and the only thing that mattered now was our survival. The atmosphere on the Ian ship was tense, almost palpable. The lights flickered erratically, reflecting the anxiety building inside me. Beside Anya, who was trying to access the control systems, I realized the situation was rapidly deteriorating. "Anya, have you figured out what's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though my heart was racing. "I'm almost there, Eliana. But something's wrong. The emergency systems have been completely disabled," she replied, the worry evident on her face. What could have motivated Tobias to do this? He had always been ambitious, but this was a betrayal on a level I never could have imagined. Suddenly, Lucas's voice came over the comms. "We need a solution now. The ship is starting to destabilize, and if we don't act soon, we're going to collide with an asteroid field." The urgency in his voice sent a wave of adrenaline through me. I knew we had to act fast, but how could we confront Tobias? "We need to confront him," I said, resolute. "If he sabotaged the systems, we can't trust him." Anya nodded, her expression determined. "I agree. He needs to understand that he's not just risking our lives, but also what's left of our mission." When we found Tobias in the control room, he looked surprised to see us. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice laced with a mix of arrogance and fear. "We're here to understand why you sabotaged the ship," I responded, my anger growing with each word. "You can't just play with all our lives because of some crazy obsession." He raised his hands, trying to defend himself. "You don't understand. The creature is the key. If we can control it, we can revive the civilization. Think of what we could achieve." His voice was full of fervor, but I couldn't let his madness guide us. "You're putting everyone at risk, Tobias. We need to escape," I shouted, my patience wearing thin. At that moment, the ship shook violently, and the lights went out, plunging us into darkness. The sound of metal clashing echoed around us, and the reality of our danger became even clearer. "Quick! We need to get back to the control panel and reactivate the emergency systems," I ordered, pulling Anya with me. As we ran, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was only just beginning. The asteroid field was closing in fast, and without the controls, the ship didn't stand a chance. As soon as we reached the panel, I worked frantically to undo the changes Tobias had made. "Anya, help me with this," I called as my fingers danced over the buttons. "I'm going to try to reactivate the emergency system, but we need to be quick." Time was running out, and the sound of the approaching asteroid seemed to echo our uncertain fate. Lucas was in a desperate struggle to keep the ship under control. "Ilyana, what are you doing?" "We need more time," he shouted, his voice filled with panic. "I'm almost there, Lucas. Just a little longer," I responded, feeling the pressure mount. The tension between us was evident, but there was no room for doubt. As soon as I managed to reactivate the systems, a new wave of hope washed over me, but the shadow of Tobias still loomed over us, a constant reminder of what was at stake. The tension in the control room was palpable. I looked at the faces of Anya and Lucas, all of us aware that the situation with Tobias couldn't be ignored. He had betrayed our trust, and now, with the creature still on the loose, it was time to act. "We need to confront him now," I declared, trying to keep the firmness in my voice. "The safety of the team has to come first." Anya nodded, her gaze resolute. I agree, but we need to be careful. He could be desperate. When we finally found Tobias, he was in one of the labs, surrounded by equipment and sample vials. His eyes were darker than ever. What do you want? He asked, with a disdainful tone. We're here to talk, I said, trying to keep calm. What were you thinking, sabotaging the emergency systems? I just wanted a chance. This creature is the key to everything, and you can't see that. Tobias responded, his voice rising. I'm not going to let you destroy the only opportunity to revive our history. You're talking about a history that already led to the destruction of civilization. Anya intervened, her voice firm. We can't repeat the same mistakes. The discussion quickly escalated into a heated exchange. Tobias was visibly agitated, and I could see he was losing control. When he turned towards one of the containers, I realized he was trying to release the creature again. No, Tobias! I shouted, but it was too late. He activated the mechanism and the container door opened, revealing the creature, now even more ferocious and out of control. Anya and I tried to block its path, but the creature lunged at him. Tobias, in a desperate act, threw himself in front of it, but ended up being struck hard. No! I screamed as the scene unfolded before me. Tobias, with an expression of pain, looked at us. You have to run. Don't let this happen again. The creature, now free and furious, attacked, but amid the chaos, Anya and I managed to find an emergency control. In a frantic team effort, we were able to deactivate the system that had kept the creature loose, but Tobias's sacrifice had already been made. He had sacrificed himself for us, and it united us in a way we never imagined. With tears in our eyes, Anya and I looked at each other, understanding that the mission had changed forever. The secrets of the extinct civilization needed to remain buried, and we were now the guardians of the past, determined to protect humanity from itself.